Jeremy. I think he's going to be upset in this video. And it might make me feel better to see Jeremy in distress. So let's see what this is about.
The copyright system on YouTube is complete and utter garbage. I woke up this morning to a copyright notification.
Dr. Gamble, thank you for gifting 3 tier 1 subs. I appreciate that.
And a copyright strike. If you are unaware...
Oof, he got a copyright strike. See, the thing is, especially lately on YouTube, while people still get copyright notifications and they get videos demonetized or monetized for the person who's claiming it, like, copyright strikes aren't as common as they used to be back in the day. Nowadays, often copyright holders, if you use a clip or something, even if it's fair use, which they shouldn't do, but nonetheless it's better than getting a strike, they'll just monetize the video for themselves or not allow you to monetize it. Specifically because there have been so many legal actions taken in cases of false DMCAs, so they don't DMCA, they just go to YouTube and they're like, hey, take this down. And they do so without a strike. Apparently Jeremy really effed up, though, if he's getting a strike, so let's see what this is all about.
How damaging strikes are to a channel, let me inform you. Once you receive 3 of them, your channel will be terminated. Having any amount of strikes on your channel at any time is a constant stress and a constant reminder that your channel is at risk. The YouTube copyright system is so easily abused that people can pretty much take down videos anytime they want, anywhere they want. And the only way you as a creator are allowed to fight back against that is give some anonymous person on the internet your full legal information, including address and phone number. Awesome.
Well, that's so if they decide to move forward with a lawsuit, they can sue you. That's the entire point, Jeremy. Like, you can talk about how you disagree with the DMCA system, but YouTube's complying to the law there. That's just how it works. Basically, the legal information stuff is specifically because once you file a counterclaim, they can then I think they can rebut it one more time just through YouTube's system, but after that, you can rebut that, and unless they counter with an actual lawsuit in like 30 days, then the claim gets automatically released, which is how it works. So they need that information in case things move forward into the legal area. This is something that's like scary and unfortunate. As someone who's been part of a lawsuit involving fair use, I completely understand the financial and emotional drain these things can take. But nonetheless, Jeremy, we are in the business of making content for the public, and this is the risk that you take when you do so. You're putting yourself out there as an individual who is working basically as an independent media organization, and as such, you're opening yourself up to liability. It sucks, I agree, I wish the law was different, it should be changed, but nonetheless, it is what it is, and that's not YouTube's fault. That's the fault of, like, the laws of the country. Salale, thank you for following.
Some system you have, YouTube. So I woke up this morning, a video was taken down about Pokimane. So immediately I assumed it was some Pokimane simp. I was like, well, I open the video and I say, well, what the hell? What's this? Why is it taken down? So you see the video here. It says, video unavailable. This video is no longer available due to a copyright claim by Superrider. I didn't know who
Fickadizzy, thank you for subscribing. 4-month streak.
Who that was. I thought it was a YouTuber. I thought it was a troll. Turns out it's an artist. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm looking around. I go through my video, a 13-minute video, looking to see if I used anything that, you know, I shouldn't have or whatever. I didn't recognize anything that I didn't see floating around everywhere. Well, it turns out in the little 20-second intro that my editor made me, there's this image, which is a Gundam and
Alright, well, Jeremy, that's on you, bud. That's not... If you just have, like, an intro that's playing a bunch of stuff... Again, I don't know the context, and I can't go watch the video because it's been removed. But, like, if you're using other people's copyrighted images without doing some sort of fair use commentary or review of them... then yeah, it's gonna get taken down. Like, that's always the case. That's why typically when you search Google for stuff, you want to search for images that are like non-copyrighted or public domain, specifically so this kind of thing doesn't happen, Jeremy. Out of all the things to be mad about, this is not the one. See, when you said this, I thought you were going to say, like, Pokimane or whatever her name is came and struck your video, which wouldn't be fair, because I do think what Jeremy does when he comments on other people's videos is fair use, similar to what I'm doing. We're basically commenting and talking about the content and not just repurposing it for, like, wholesale resale, if that makes sense. It's transformative, I think, is the verbiage that's typically used under fair use. But, like, Jeremy, if you're gonna just yank someone's art from the internet without, like, commenting on it, then yeah, that's not fair use. That's breaking copyright law.
Pokimane drawn by, I assume, this person, Super Rider. Okay? It's not like his watermark's cut out or anything. You see it right in. So this is the only image I can see in the video. And
The Flower Girl 13. Thank you for saying I look nice. I appreciate that.
then I see this Super thing down here. So I'm like, oh, okay, it's this person. And
again, it depends on the context. Considering it's actually a Pokimane thing, if the video is about that, and he's using it in a montage where he's trying to say that he thinks that certain people who do fan art are simps of her or something, which again, I can't believe we're even having this discussion. It's such a petty thing. But, like, I would say that potentially falls under fair use because he's using that to illustrate a larger point. But Jeremy, again, if that's how you feel, then file a counterclaim. That's fine. You do that. That's part of being a YouTuber. You've been here for years. You should know this. And I guess maybe Jeremy's only been here for 3 or 4 years. So maybe because I've been here longer, I'm used to it being even stricter. I mean, people complain about YouTube's copyright, like, policies, and rightfully so, because YouTube doesn't communicate whatsoever with content creators, and I understand that. But nonetheless, in the last 3 years or so, copyright's actually gotten a lot better on YouTube in terms of fair use. I'm serious, and I know you're going to be like, what? But that's because people don't talk about it that much. Because people talk about things when they get bad, but when they slowly start to get better, they don't tend to comment on it because they're just happy that the thing has happened. And plus, positive videos don't get as many clicks as negative videos. But, like, Jeremy, if you genuinely believe that in the context of your video this was fair use, and it may be, I haven't seen the video, nor am I a lawyer, if you believe it is, then file a counterclaim. That's the entire purpose of counterclaims, and I very much doubt this person who drew fan art is going to sue you. So if you go into a counterclaim, and they say, like, no, and then you do one more, and wait 30 days, then the video will be back up, because there's no way they're going to sue you. Claire the Egg with 20 bits. I love the lipstick. Thank you.
their image appears in my video. They took that and not only took my entire video down, but gave me a channel strike, which now puts my channel at risk. And you know what?
That was definitely malicious, by the way. Because, like, even big companies, like, if I, like, for instance, I feel safe on YouTube at this point. Oh, thank you, Highly and Dirt, for 40 bits. Appreciate that. For instance, like, when I did the PlayStation 4 reveal, I didn't feel concerned about using PlayStation's video because I understand that based on how copyright systems on YouTube work now, because companies recognize at this point that if you're looking at their stuff under fair use, then it's probably beneficial to them, but they might take the monetization. So when I did the PS4 reveal the other day, I did it under the understanding that I probably wouldn't get monetized on YouTube for it, but it would stay up. And it has. That's basically what happened. Like, even a big company like Sony doesn't copyright strike you at this point most of the time because they're aware of the legal peril it puts you in. Did I say PS4? I meant PS5, yeah. So whoever this person was who took down Jeremy's video and gave him a strike, oh yeah, that was probably malicious.
Chat, Hannah and I match.
We do.
I don't even blame this kid because only because the YouTube system is so broken and such BS is this even allowed to happen. First of all,
Jeremy, and I understand that it seems like BS. I totally get that. But the system is set up in such a way to reduce liability for YouTube. This is the entire purpose of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, is so platform holders do not themselves become liable for content that infringes upon copyright on their platform. It basically lets anyone who's a copyright holder, and anyone could be a copyright holder, up to and including people who make fan art. If you create a thing, you basically have the copyright on it automatically. There used to be more hoops you had to go through, but nowadays I think it's pretty much the standard that, like, if you create a work that's unique, then it is copyrighted and you own the copyright for that. So anyone who claims that they own the copyright to something, and I do agree that vetting for people being able to get into the system and say, I have copyright on this, should maybe be a little more stringent, but YouTube doesn't want to spend the money to do it. But again, that's a general YouTube issue all around. They don't have a lot of people working on the site, despite the fact that it's one of the largest websites on the planet. Anyway, so Jeremy, the system in which disputes basically have to be settled between you, the individual who put up the video, and the person who is making a claim against you, that's not YouTube's fault. That's literally the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. It's what it does. It takes the video platform out of the legal equation, because if that were the case, then no one would ever host a video platform, because they would be sued constantly. So that's what the Digital Millennium Copyright Act was made for, so that in the millennium, the new digital age, people who provide platforms would feel free to do so without the risk of constant legal battles over people uploading, I don't know, episodes of The Office to YouTube or whatever.
Kid never emailed me. I'm assuming it's a kid, because you're talking about taking down a video from somebody who will knowingly spend thousands of dollars on a lawsuit knowing he's going to lose it to try and defend what he believes is right. Now, I'm sure after this video, I'm going to resolve things with Super Rider. There's no way this person is going to take this video.
Shorts02, thanks for subscribing. Love the matching outfits, thanks.
Take this image to court. He or they are going to lose thousands of dollars unless they're completely moronic. I don't believe that that's the case. But here's what happens when you get a YouTube strike. Okay, when they submit a strike to you, this is the amount of information I have to provide a total stranger on the internet. Okay, so I get this copyright strike. Pokimane blasted for clout chasing. An image that appears in 4 seconds of a 12 or 11 minute video. Okay, 4 seconds of a video.
It doesn't really matter though, Jeremy, until such a time, and honestly, interestingly, when I do videos and it includes like video content or audio content that gets copyrighted by someone, at this point, YouTube does allow you the option, typically, I guess it might be different under a strike, but like if I play a video like a Karen compilation, and this has happened before, where I'm doing a stream and there's someone who has a radio in the background of a video and it's playing a song, and that gets picked up by the automatic systems of YouTube, and then it's like, hey, you can't monetize this video. It now gives you the option to remove the audio from that section, which is nice. So it would be nice if they did the same for video and were able to remove a strike if it's something like this in the context of a larger video. But again, I haven't gotten a copyright strike in a very long time, so I'm not exactly sure what the process for that is.
Now, after I clicked, so I can either contact the claimant, which I've done, or I can submit a counter notification. In order to submit a counter notification, let me show you all the information I have to provide a complete stranger on the internet.
Yes, this is for legal purposes, Jeremy.
Right? In order to fight this, YouTube...
Because you're filing a legal document, Jeremy. Do you understand that? This isn't YouTube's... Like, these are the things YouTube has decided you need to put in. This is under the DMCA, which is the law. If you are going to file a counter notification, which is, by the way, you're saying under penalty of perjury that, hey, I have the right to use this material. It's a legal document. It's not just a form YouTube put up. It's literally stuff that is required under the law if you are going to make a counterclaim. YouTube didn't arbitrarily decide you need to put like your address and your name and your phone number and all that stuff. Those are all things that are required under the law so that if they decide to move on you legally, they can serve you a lawsuit. That's why. YouTube didn't decide that. Congress did.
Forces me to give this person my full legal name, my home address, my phone number, my city, my personal email, state, zip, and country. So I have to give a complete stranger all my personal information just to fight for what's right. Now,
Yep, it's a legal document, Jeremy. Oh no, I'm a business owner, and there's a legal thing happening to me. I have to use the law to fight back? Me no likey. Yeah, it sucks, Jeremy. I know. I've been in a lawsuit about this before. It sucks so much. And we ended up spending like $80,000 just to settle. Like, it's ridiculous. And the legal system in this country, and the DMCA in particular, is pretty one-sided and it's not very fair. But nonetheless, it is what it is. And you can't really bitch at YouTube for following the law, Jeremy. What you should be doing is saying, I don't like this position. Call your Congress people so we can make a difference, you know? Whatever. Lonesome Troll, 10 bits. The quartering seems stuck in 2015 with his politics and arguments. Yeah.
had Super Rider emailed me or tweeted me to ask me to remove the image, I would have been 100% fine with it. If Super Rider doesn't like me and they don't want me using their image, I don't care about that. That's totally fine. I don't deny that it appears that Super Rider did draw this image. My question is it copyrighted? I bet you it's not.
Jeremy, people have the copyright to their creations. All they have to do is show the court, hey, I made this. This is mine. And that's proof you have a copyright. It's been quite a while, I think, legally, since you've had to literally go to, like, or send to like an office of copyright, like, hey, I want copyright on this image, right? Like, if I write a book and someone publishes an identical book, I'm pretty sure you just need to, like, legally show that you wrote it first, and then the copyright defaults to you.
Are they willing to go to court and lose? Both of us will probably lose $10,000 to $15,000 fighting this out in the court.
That's lowballing it, if you honestly keep going. Like I said, Jake and I, when we did that lawsuit, spent tens and tens of thousands of dollars. It was absurd.
They'll probably lose, but we'll both lose a ton of money. All right. Is that what they want? Or did they just want me to remove the image? Well, YouTube sets it up so that they're allowed to take down my entire video for 4 freaking seconds.
Again, Jeremy, if it was copyright infringement, then yeah, they have the right to do that. If you think it wasn't, then file the DMCA counterclaim, which is a legal document that requires you to put your information in. But here's the thing, Jeremy. If you file a DMCA counterclaim with all that information, and they decide to counterclaim again, then you can also get their information. Like, that's the point. It's legal. Like, you have to put in this information, and their information would also become public to you at some point, so you could also sue them. That's the entire purpose of filling out these forms. Because it's a legal process. You are filling out legal documents under the penalty of perjury. That's why it says that. I don't know if you know this, Jeremy, but YouTube doesn't have the right to charge you with perjury. The government does. Which is why it says, like, signed under penalty of perjury.
Of an image that I didn't even... Well, look, it's my editor, so ultimately it's my responsibility. But it's not like I sold it and I cut his watermark out. It's not like I'm selling t-shirts with his image.
I understand that, Jeremy, and based on the way you describe it, if it was a montage at the beginning of the video and you were trying to illustrate the point, especially if you commented on said montage, I would definitely say it falls under fair use. If you didn't, then it's going to be up to a judge to decide, like, is showing these images in a series in and of itself commentary on said images. I would argue it probably is. But nonetheless, I don't think that's like a settled legal question, right? Like, you're recontextualizing the image in the context of a montage of a bunch of other images that show similar things. Would it fall under fair use? Probably. But again, fair use is something that's not been litigated a ton. Leonard French has videos on this. It does get litigated, but like a lot of the time it winds up being settled because usually it involves a small content creator and a big company. And when the small content creator ends up getting the funds, whether through crowdfunding or they have the money themselves, in order to fight that claim, often the company will settle so they don't set precedent. So it's a whole complicated thing.
And I keep saying his. I don't know. They. And it's not like this person isn't clearly in the community. They are clearly a fan of It's a Gundam. So why would they do this other than to be to take advantage of a system that's in place that now puts creators' livelihoods at risk?
They may have, even if it wasn't malicious, they may have legitimately just felt that you took their image without the right to do so. And again, that's probably a gray area. It's probably something that would need to go to court in order to be accurately, like, decided if it's fair use or not. But nonetheless, they felt that way, Jeremy. That's the entire purpose of the DMCA system, is that if you're a copyright holder and you feel your copyright has been infringed upon, then you have the right to take down infringing material. Like, again, I get that it's frustrating, but being an adult who runs a business and is involved in the legal world of, like, this kind of thing, especially when you're using other people's content under fair use, this is a risk you have. This is a risk I have. This is a risk everyone who does this for a living has, is contending with lawsuits. Because unfortunately, in the real world, when you're running a business that discusses other people, a business that, under fair use, ideally, you're using people's content to discuss it, yeah, litigation is just a part of it. It sucks. I agree, Jeremy. I agree. Being an adult sucks. But here we are. Like, we don't really have a choice.
When you submit a copyright
Nord Guy, thanks for subscribing. 3-month streak.
strike like this, you have no idea how many strikes that person has, what it's going to do to their livelihood, and why. Because YouTube sets up a system that makes it so easily abused. Why not? Why not? Here's a very simple change that Team YouTube could do. If an image appears in 4 seconds, by the way, I'm sure they didn't have to approve that they even owned this image. They're allowed to just submit this anyway.
Right, because if YouTube gets involved and starts deciding, I think this is or is not fair use themselves, then they open themselves up to liability. And you might be like, oh, they should do that. They're sure, that's fine. That's your argument. But I'm telling you why they're not doing that. If they all of a sudden start becoming the arbiter of what isn't fair use, or what isn't copyright infringement, they are intrinsically involving themselves in the process, and they are opening themselves up to litigation, which is why they just don't. They just go, you two settle this yourselves. We're not dealing with it. Thank you. Catalina Gearbox with 5 bits. You look so cute today, Hannah. Thank you. MST3K fan 77 for following. Didn't you follow in the past? I thought you were already following.
All right? The system is set up so that you can just submit some bogus crap like this, whether you own it or not, and take down an entire...
I mean, the guy does own it. The guy does own it. The image itself. Again, the question of, is it fair use to use it in a montage at the beginning of your video? That's an interesting one. You should probably talk to a lawyer about that if you're gonna, like, litigate it. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know anything about it. But to me, it seems like that's not a cut and dry question. It's certainly something that they could probably have a case over, even if they lose said case.
I feel like I just need to keep popping in periodically to show chat that Hannah and I are matching today.
Your video before I can even respond to it. All right? Second of all, why wouldn't YouTube just black out that part of the video? They have to say...
I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think that would be a good compromise. They already do that for audio, like I discussed earlier. Like, if I have something that's blocked for copyright purposes and it's like an audio segment, then I can trim that segment out or mute that segment.
There's nothing funny about the
it would be
tools of
cool if
capitalism.
YouTube did change it so you could just, like, edit after it's already uploaded that segment out. But Jeremy, you could also, like, upload that video and just cut that segment out, right? You could re-put up that video without the image in if you think that that's the issue. Like, regardless of whether or not you can rectify by removing an image from a video, if it was copyright infringement, removing that segment from it wouldn't undo the thing you already did. Like, imagine if I go and rob a jewelry store, and this is an extreme example, but let me to illustrate why this doesn't work. Imagine if I go and rob a jewelry store at gunpoint, and as I'm walking out the door, the cops get there and they stand there, and I go, "You caught me," and I go and I settle the jewels back. And I go, am I free to go? That's not how it works, Jeremy. If you did infringe on someone's copyright and published a video, even if you were to remove that segment from the video, which you can still do even if you get a strike, you would just need to do it on your own computer, re-edit it, edit out that segment, re-upload the video. But, like, it doesn't undo the fact that you potentially broke copyright law. And again, I'm not saying he did. I haven't seen the video. I don't know the context. I'm not a lawyer. But what I am saying is, it probably is a gray area legally because of the... how do I put this? There have only been so many lawsuits involving the DMCA and fair use. H3H3, the one Jake and I did years ago. There have been some other ones, but like Sargon, I think, was involved in one. But the point is this. Like, the system is in line with the law. If you disagree with what's going on, then you need to deal this in a legal avenue. And I know that sucks. I know it sucks. I know that more than just about anyone, being someone who was involved in a lawsuit like this. But just because something sucks doesn't mean it's not reality, right? You can't bitch and moan your way out of a lawsuit. You can't bitch and moan your way out of copyright infringement or the question of whether or not something is copyright infringement or fair use. Like, you're an adult, you put out content, this is your job, you gotta contend with this stuff. Let me see what, it sounded like something happened. Keirthin with 100 bits, love that you guys are matching lesbian goals, thanks.
Where this part appears, if they're telling the truth, like Super Rider did, it's a 3-second clip in a 5-minute or a 12-minute video. Why not just chop that scene out? There are already tools in the back end that the system can automatically cut sections from your video.
Sure, and I would agree, but it wouldn't undo your strike. Like I said with the jewel thief analogy, undoing and removing something that was potentially illegal, I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying potentially, doesn't undo the fact that you did it. And YouTube isn't gonna start, like, closing the barn door after the cows already got out, you know what I mean? Like, they're still gonna give you a strike because you still did a thing. It's not a preventative measure if every time you were to break copyright, you could just rescind it and say, oops, I'm sorry. And again, I'm not saying Jeremy did this. I don't think he was being malicious. I don't think he or his editor legitimately thought, ha ha ha, we will steal this person's copyrighted material for our little montage. No, I think they were just trying to put a montage together that they probably thought was funny. And they just pulled some videos, pulled some images from the internet to do so. Nonetheless, if it's copyright infringement, it is. If it's not, it's not. But if someone believes that their copyrighted material is being used in a way that is not legal, then they have the right to file DMCA claims. You might not agree with it, the courts might not even agree with it, but they do have the right to do so, and you have the right to combat that. I get it. A lot of things in life suck. Like, you know what else sucks, Jeremy? Man, mortgage payments. Man, you know what else sucks? Car payments and having to pay for gas.
There's nothing funny
like,
about
these are all things that you just have to deal with. Like, life isn't always happy and fun and always full of things that you like. MMO addicted with 10 bits. Whenever I hear anyone say the system, this is what my mind jumps to. I'm guessing that's the Lonely Islands song about this. Oh, no, it's not.
The system is mine!
I've not played the Metal Gear games, so I don't get the context, but that's funny.
What kind of precedent is this going to set if I don't go to court now? Everybody who roles.
If you're talking about legal precedent, it doesn't set any legal precedent, but I don't think that's what he means. I think he just means colloquially.
Pass an image on Twitter, are they going to get copyright strikes from people? Everybody who reads an article on their stream and there's images in that stream, is that going to be the legal precedent that we want?
Probably not, because again, those things usually fall under fair use, and usually tweets aren't even considered something that because you don't monetize your tweets typically, whereas YouTube videos you often do. Again, I'm not a lawyer. It's a complicated matter, and I do think that what Jeremy was doing probably fell under fair use. But again, that's a legal question, which is why DMCA is a legal system.
When people are live streaming, reading an article, if an image appears on that article, the person who drew that image gets to copyright strike the stream. This is absolute.
There have been cases involving that. For instance, there was like a video that was a popular viral video, and in the background someone was listening to a radio, and there was a song on the radio, and it got copyright struck for the song, even though the song was not the focus of the video in any way, shape, or form, and it was incidental to the content. And the court found in favor of the, oh boy, was it the plaintiff? I don't remember who initiated the lawsuit. But whoever uploaded the video won, and the court basically found, like, this video is not about the song that happens to be in the background. You cannot strike this just because incidentally your music happens to be here. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen on YouTube, because their system is automatic, and if it picks up on a song, it'll pick up on a song regardless, but you can file counterclaims. But anyway, my point is, this has been ruled on by the courts, and basically if something is incidental like that, so let's say you are reading an article and commenting on it in a fair use fashion, like I do sometimes, or like Jake does, or anyone who's a commentator on like Twitch or YouTube or whatever, that's fine. You're allowed to do that, and if there's a copyrighted image in that article that you're scrolling through, that's incidental to the content of the video, so it's fine.
Absurdity. And I'm really trying to say, like, I don't want people to dogpile Super Rider, okay? It's the system that's the problem. I assume after this video comes out, Super Rider will contact me if they're smart. If they're not smart and they want to go to court and lose a ton of money, believe me, I'm willing to. Because I will not let this precedent be set where people can take down an entire video just cuz.
I mean, whether or not you sue this guy, it's not going to change YouTube's system, unfortunately. YouTube's doing what they're doing because it's the way in which they have the least liability. And as a company, they're always going to do that.
Now I have to dox myself to even fight this. Absolute bullshit. All right? YouTube.
It's a legal document. I wouldn't consider that doxing. Again, you're in the middle of a legal dispute, Jeremy. That's not doxing.
This system has been broken.
If the guy then took that information that he gets from that legal document and spreads it online, then you would have legal recourse, most likely.
Broken for years. I know you want to keep your hands off, right? Your little hands off everything. But is this what you want in your community now? So
is Jeremy trying to, like, pull at YouTube's heartstrings and somehow appeal to some moral center? Jeremy, they're a corporation. What are you doing, bud? Don't waste your breath. Yes, I'm sure YouTube, or Google, who owns YouTube, Alphabet, I think they're called Alphabet now, I'm sure they're going to be like, well, this will open us up to millions and millions of dollars in lawsuits, but the quartering guy, boy, he got me right here. Daughter of Tiamat with 40 bits. Why does he keep saying the name like he's trying to say the N-word with a soft A? I have no idea what you're talking about.
So you're going to set a precedent.
Like the name of the guy, Flo Rida, or whatever the guy's name was?
Where anybody who doesn't like somebody can just submit a bunch of copyright strikes when they're browsing the internet. I mean, is that what we're going to do? Is that how we're going to enable channels to be put at risk? And I don't, in this particular case, I'm not calling Super Rider a troll. I believe this was a mistake, and maybe
because that's how it's spelled. The person who was asking that question earlier.
Going to come back and say, well, I didn't know it was going to take your video down. I just wanted your money. I don't know. All right. But clearly, this image in my video is definitely going to be fair use. It's not like I'm selling merch. It's not like I uploaded a video of just his image. It's a single...
I would definitely say for sure, and again, I'm not a lawyer. Don't take anything I say as legal advice ever. If someone asked me, is Jeremy's use of the image which he showed earlier in the video in this video fair use? 100%. I think it's fair use. As a complete layman, fair use. Because he's talking about it, and he's talking about the fact that it caused him to get a strike.
Image in a 12-minute video or 11-minute video.
Although, I'm not gonna lie, just on a personal, like, vindictive level, it would be funny if the Super Rida guy struck this video, too.
That
it wouldn't be legal, I don't think. It would probably be a bad move, because Jeremy has the resources to sue him. But it would make me laugh, and I think that's worth it. So consider that, Super Rida. Maybe do this and kind of destroy your own life, just for my own bemusement.
Adds
amusement. Sorry.
Flavor to the statement I'm making. I don't need to argue fair use. The judge will decide that. But the system that YouTube has set up now puts my channel at risk. It now sets a precedent where other people who maybe...
they could already do this, Jeremy. What are you talking about? If there wasn't already precedent, then the guy couldn't have done it in the first place. This is always the case on YouTube. It's just that it's an honor system that, believe it or not, people don't usually maliciously try and take down videos they don't have the right to do so. Because it's a legal thing, and it would open them up to really, really, really terrible lawsuits. Cascadia93 with a bit. These Chud often forget that anyone who owns anything can claim if the image is in a thing they find objectionable. Ask the guy who made Pepe. He sued the alt-right and won because he was a leftist. Yeah.
Don't like me, will go through and find images and then spam the creator of that image and say, oh, you should copyright strike this guy. We can take his channel down. It only takes 3. Is that the system? Is that what we're going to do here?
Jeremy, and again, yeah, it's like he thinks this is the first time this has ever happened. Jeremy, this is how the system has been for years. For years and years. How did you not know this? You work on the platform.
YouTube, you're going to allow creators to have their entire channel put at risk because somebody doesn't like them? Because let's be clear, the only reason you really submit this strike is if you don't like me.
Not necessarily. It's entirely possible Super Rida doesn't like Jeremy for a multitude of reasons. A lot of people don't like Jeremy, myself included. But, like, let's say Jeremy did something that I thought was legit copyright infringement. Like, let's say he took a whole video of mine and just uploaded it on his channel with absolutely no commentary, which wouldn't be fair use. I'd probably strike that video, because it would be copyright infringement. But of course, that's not the case. That's not what's happening. It's obviously more of a legal gray area. But I don't know. Jeremy, I don't know how to tell you this, but yes, the way people treat you is very determinant upon how they view you as a person. Like, if this person thought it was copyright infringement, but they just thought you were an okay person, then yeah, maybe they would have been like, hey, no strike, though. Like, hey, I don't think this should be up, but I'm not going to give you a strike. However, if people see you as a bad dude and they have legal powers to harm you in some way, yeah, they're probably going to do it. Like, is this news to you, Jeremy? Do you not understand that people treat people in such a way relative to their reputation? That's... again, a reality of being an adult. If people don't like someone, they're gonna treat them worse. Why? Do you not know this? Anyway.
Because you know dang well this is fair use. And you know dang well it's not like I did it nefariously. It's not like I'm selling my own brand of t-shirt with your images. You also know dang well it's not like I'm not friends with It's a Gundam who's in the image. We clearly agree on the Pokemon It's a Gundam.
Okay. So the dude is okay, so he probably doesn't even not like Jeremy because It's a Gundam like fan image. So the guy might have just legit thought, or gal, I guess. I don't know the gender of the person. Whoever they are, since they're a fan of It's a Gundam, who is very similar to Jeremy, if you don't know who It's a Gundam is. It's another, like, reactionary Chud media channel that gets mad about Brie Larson and Star Wars and stuff. Then they might even like you, Jeremy, but they thought that what you did was copyright infringement. I'm not saying it was. I have to preface every time. I'm not saying it was. But if they thought that, then they probably just struck you for that reason. I doubt they dislike you, Jeremy, if they're a fan of It's a Gundam. You're putting motivations on this person that don't even make sense if they're a fan of It's a Gundam. Now, they might be mistaken in the fact that they thought it was copyright infringement, but that's why counterclaims exist.
Gundam thing. So why in the hell would you copy? I'm just talking like man to man, so to speak. Why would you do that?
How do you and Baja Blast like the Rocky series? Does she have a favorite? Ooh. Yeah, I just had her watch the Rocky series, like, last month. You'd have to ask her specifically what her favorite one was. I like Rocky 4, just because it's ridiculous, and I like the robot.
You know for a fact that you're going to lose this in court. And now I have to give you my personal information in order to teach you that lesson. I don't even care about the money. I care about a broken system that allows YouTubers to have to expose their personal information to anyone who asks. And will leave their channel up for exposure to anybody who doesn't like them, who wants to take advantage of a system that doesn't, you don't even have to prove you have something copyrighted to take a copyright, to issue a copyright strike.
Again, Jeremy, specifically because if YouTube starts deciding this is or this is not copyright infringement, yada, 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 blah, 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 any amount of interference in that process is going to constitute them being at least somewhat liable for the decisions that are being made, and they don't want to do that. The purpose of the DMCA law, the actual Digital Millennium Copyright Act, and the systems that were put in place by it, is to leave platforms like YouTube completely out of it, so they're not liable in any way. If they start being the arbiter of who gets to file claims and who doesn't, then they are inherently becoming involved in a way that they are not supposed to under the law. Like, they would become liable in that situation, and they're not going to do that. Obowan with 100 bits. I may have missed this, but how does Baja think about Taco Bell removing Baja Blast from its menu? They're removing Baja Blast from the menu. That's weird. Is it? Did they lose their exclusivity? Are they just going to start selling it in the stores now? That'd be pretty cool.
Fucking world is that okay? You should have to look. I worked in trademarks. Okay, I worked with the NFL. I worked with MLB, NHL. I worked with Realtree. I know how this stuff works. When I would create licensing, when I owned the license, when I had a license to a product, I had to, when I went to a manufacturer to print, let's say, Realtree calendars, I had to give that manufacturer proof that I had licensing. All right, that's how it works in the real world. But
Jeremy, that's not how it works under the DMCA, though, because we're talking about someone claiming, hey, I think I have the right to that copyright image. Like, again, this has to do with, again, their initial filing, right? Their initial filing, they're saying under perjury that they own that. That's the check. If you believe that they don't own that image, which they do, you already claimed that they do, this isn't about whether or not they own it. The person is called Super Rida. We've already established that that is the person that owns the copyright to that image, right? You get that. So stop trying to fight this, like, tertiary battle of, like, well, I had to prove that I was the owner before they'd print shirts again or whatever, because that person who's going to print the shirts, if they don't check that, they might be liable for printing the shirts. In the case of YouTube, YouTube is being hands-off, again, so they're not liable. The person who's printing the shirts doesn't have that option because they are inherently involved in the process. They are printing the shirts. They are liable. Therefore, they need to check. Because YouTube is being hands-off, they're keeping themselves from becoming liable. It's all about liability, Jeremy. For someone who claims that he's, like, knows about copyright because he worked with it, you don't really seem to understand the underlying reason these things are happening. It all has to do with people being liable along the chain of events. Like, if the t-shirt manufacturer could somehow keep themselves from being liable, they probably wouldn't even care and they'd print whatever. But because they are the ones printing the product, they are liable in the chain of events. YouTube is not checking whether or not someone who files a DMCA actually owns it, because 2 reasons. First of all, they're already checked under the fact that they're saying under the penalty of perjury, I own this image. So if they don't, you can go and sue them. Okay? That's your recourse. And secondly, YouTube isn't checking it because then they are an arbiter in the process of deciding if something is or is not copyright infringement, and therefore it would make them liable if something happens wrong. And they're not going to do that. That's the distinction.
For whatever reason, on YouTube, they just get to screw us. Absolute garbage. Please subscribe.
Jeremy being mad does make me happy, though. Anyway. I think that's it from Jeremy. That video was only put up an hour ago. I'm curious if the Super Rida person decides to copyright strike that too, which I think would be, for sure, a misuse of the system. And at that point, yeah, they probably deserve to get sued. But it would make me laugh. And I think that's basically my standard at this point. You're garbage. Check, please. His outro music sounds like the intro outro from Myths and Legends podcast. I mean, it's probably royalty-free music. YouTube provides you with a whole library of royalty-free music, which is why sometimes on YouTube, sometimes you'll have certain creators who have songs that you associate with them, but then you'll go to a different YouTube channel and you'll hear it on that channel and you'll be like, wait, isn't that I think Your Movie Sucks has that one that's like the whistly song. You know, I can't whistle very well, but you get it. But you might hear that on other channels and you'll be like, why are they playing the song from Your Movie Sucks? It's because it's a copyright-free song that Your Movie Suck pulled from YouTube's library, and other people can too. It just becomes associated with certain things because they're popular. Anyway, let's move on to something else.